Hey AfterBuzzers, you're watching the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Billions, Season 1, Episode 11, Magical Thinking. Join us as we break down the episode and give you our thoughts and predictions. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Let's see your moves, Frank.
Let's go.
There you go.
I feel like I should be clapping.
Let's go, everybody. Welcome on in to the Billions After Show for the penultimate episode of Season 1. This is Episode 11. We've only got 1 week left. Welcome on in. I am your lead host, Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M. And I'm joined by the A-Team. She is now an official adult, having painted one room in her apartment, and it's Andrea Fasano.
I'm never talking to you about anything in my personal life ever again. Hey, you guys, I'm Andrea Fasano. I was going to say, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, YouTube, any of the social medias at Andy Fasano.
And she is a Rihanna lookalike, but only while she's dancing. It's Alina Vision.
Ooh la la, la la. Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Alina Vision.
We have a good time here on the Billions panel.
Say that.
Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. 1 episode left. The season has flown by, guys. It's kind of crazy. We're here, 1 episode left, and we got a lot of introspection tonight, I thought.
Yeah.
There was primarily the action surrounded our 3 main characters of Wendy and Axe and Chuck, and seems like the case has gone away, and now we're taking a look inside of these characters. Just give me your thoughts right off the top before we get into social media shoutouts.
Well, immediately I totally felt the same way, that it was more of like a connecting tissue type episode. And obviously I love that you used the word penultimate, because that's like one of my favorite words, but very, very well done.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just, you're kind of getting information that'll just, everything will explode next week. So this week had to be kind of calm, but still a lot going on. So excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. There was so much going on with the characters, just the depth of, the whole session between Wendy and Axe kind of explained a lot. And yeah, I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to see where this goes. The end, my jaw dropped. No!
Yes, a real shock at the ending. But before we get into that, we like to start off our show with our social media shout-outs. So you guys can use the hashtag ABTVBillions out there on Twitter, even Instagram, or just commenting directly on our YouTube page. And Alina and Andrea have gone through your comments for this week and are going to highlight what some of you have said out there. So Alina, you start with Twitter every week?
Yes, on Twitter, we have Iris TV, who is at IJMeTV, and she said she loved Condola's point of view in the interview. Condola.
Yes, Condola.
Yeah, Condola.
We had Condola Rashad on last week, and just want to thank her again. And
she was awesome.
Kelly Aucoin, who's been out there on Twitter, Dollar Bill, has been retweeting our show and has said such wonderful things about us. So a great interview. I watched it a few times. I was just so excited that we got her on the show.
Yeah.
And if you listen to her and the energy we talked about, she's so willing and open and honest to share her experience on the show. So, I mean, I'm glad that the listeners out there appreciated that.
Yeah. And then, of course, we got our girl, Denise.
Of course.
At EnvyGhost005.
Yeah.
She said she could never do Wendy's job. I can barely figure out my own crap, let alone the mind like Axe's.
It's a really good point.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that in this episode specifically, because she really uses such terms too, like comparative analysis, phrases.
She's good.
And she is just so awesome, but she keeps it very neutral for herself, which is very hard. So good point.
Yeah, and she was a big part of this episode, and a lot of the driving action was precipitated by how she's handling Axe and how she comes home and sees Chuck at the end of the night. Anybody on YouTube that you want to highlight, Andrea?
Yes, we do. And I kind of, we only have a couple, so I'm going to run through all of them. We have WYOSDSN, who says the fake argument scene is up there with a scene from The Wire, which I never watched The Wire. I don't know if you guys have.
I have, yeah.
It's a certain quote scene. You guys can go on our YouTube page and see what they were referring to.
Okay.
But yeah, I had a boss, by the way, who was so obsessed with The Wire that she got The Wire tattooed on her wrist.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's how intense this show is for
hardcore.
some people. Yeah. Then we have Sylvia Woods, who's just caught up with us. She just binge watched Billions, which is pretty cool.
Great
She
way
loves
to
it
do
just
it.
as much. Thanks so much for signing on and writing to us about it. She had a few good thoughts. She thought that, she said that both Axe and Rhodes live between the tensions of good and evil. Very true. And she's curious how Wendy came to work for Axe, which this episode even brings more of that to like, they're behind the scenes and what their real history is. So I thought that was a good point. We have Makey Oliver. I hope I'm saying your name right. But he says Axelrod is a prick, for lack of a better term. And he thinks his wife is also a snake in the grass, so that's pretty funny. And then VLG, I think Axe will betray Wendy by producing photos of bath time, which is really funny because we've mentioned that before. And then JCashB3 says that they agree and thinks it's going to come into play sooner or later. So I think we all agree, right? We're waiting for that moment, especially with Rhodes catching them today.
That's right. So that, what did he catch them doing?
Talking, like he just catching them together. Not like they did anything. I was looking. It's funny how the whole time when we saw it on screen, there was no arm around. Like I was kind of looking for that. But then when Rhodes was looking, his arm was around her.
No.
Yes,
I didn't
didn't
see
you see
that.
that?
No, I didn't see it that way.
Okay, well maybe there was a glare.
There was a moment when they kind of got close, and I thought, "Whoa, wait! A kiss is coming!"
Yes.
Oh, thank goodness it didn't happen. That would have been
ruin
really
it.
bad.
Yeah, it would
ruin it. And
they have such respect for each other, and it comes across so strongly. So that's what keeps it good.
yeah, so let's talk about the all-night session that happened as a result of Axe, what we've come to learn, purposely missing on a trade deal. To give everybody just a resetting of it, he had, there was this company called BioLance that was waiting on an approval from the FDA to proceed with their drug, and Axe Capital had a big position in that company, and Maffei came into the office and said, hey, we can get out of this for 10%, we'll have made 10%, or if we stay in and they don't get approved, we're going to lose a lot of money. And Axe says, I am the difference maker, and we're going to see this through. And it turns out that they weren't approved for their drug. And so Axe is going to lose at least $430 million, maybe as much as $1 billion. And it leads to this all-night session with Wendy, a real true therapy session, where we learned a lot about Axe.
Yeah.
What stood out to you about what we learned about Axe tonight?
Definitely the revealing part of the fact that he thought that he was a sociopath, or he was concerned even that he was a sociopath, which is really funny because Wendy's whole rebuttal to that, which is interesting, I think a lot of people would describe him as such, but her rebuttal to that is because you think and you care if you're a sociopath, that makes you not exactly a sociopath. You're somewhere in between of that and a normal person.
Yeah.
But I thought that was hugely revealing. And to add to that, the fact that he told Wendy some stuff and then went home and told Lara, hey, I didn't tell you this, but this happens. And it doesn't matter. She's like, okay, weirdo, why are you telling me you cry? But it's an amazing moment, again, between husband and wife that we always love to encourage and promote and be like, this is what's so awesome about this show, keeping that relationship strong. So I like that.
Alina, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think one thing that really did surprise me was him actually fessing up to the whole Donnie situation, to Wendy, knowing that, eventually, he not really knowing what side clearly she's on. I think now he knows, or he does have that trust with her. But I was really surprised that he took it that far, because in the previous episode, we saw that, Lara was kind of telling him, I don't trust her. She's playing, she's digging around, all this stuff, and he still trusts her enough to tell her that.
And he was being cold too. He was being
cold.
hands off with her for a moment.
Well, you got to remember, Lara is nipping at Axe to get rid of Wendy altogether.
Right.
That continued tonight in tonight's episode, where Lara's saying, we really don't need her. You can nudge her out the door, and I'm sure she wants her gone for reasons personal and professional. But Axe won't have it. He trusts Wendy completely, even though he knows she is out looking at other shops.
Right.
That's what was most surprising for me. I really agree with what Alina said about how that they have this bond together and that they've been through the battles. But I think, even now, even that Axe knows she's been out going to Zenobia and trying to find another job, they're still together, and there's still, that trust that will not go away.
Yeah,
Right. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
one other thing I wanted to point out
Yeah,
that
go
you
for
said
it.
that made me think of it was that, he confessed to the Donnie thing, but he also confessed that he knew that Donnie might testify against him.
Right.
Right? And that was something that I didn't quite catch last week when I was talking about how I hated that and how he didn't give him the opportunity to live. He seems remorseful about it, but even more so, he realizes that Donnie could have potentially testified against him.
Oh, yeah.
So he might have not totally trusted Donnie at the same time.
Well, yeah, I got that last week.
I think it's just.
Oh, well,
I got
excuse me.
that too.
Excuse me to both of the A-team over there. I'm missing
just
JB tonight.
Stay on your
so-
side, right? I'm sure JB didn't either. No, but I hear you, and I think also the fact that he realized he didn't care as much about Donnie as he
Said
wanted
he
to
did,
believe he
right.
did, or said he did, right?
Yeah.
I sort of sympathize with Axe when he said that. I will admit that there have been times when my mom's aunt died, and I'm sorry, I didn't really care all that much.
Yeah,
And,
right.
so there is a small part of me that goes, yeah, I get it. There's sometimes when people die that you just don't quite care about. But in this case, it's somebody who worked with him, who worked directly under him.
Yeah.
The counter to that is Axe gave him $40 million and took care of his family. So, I mean, my opinion changed tonight about Axe.
Again.
Again, I'm flipping and flopping all over the place, but I'm back on Team Axe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of this, because he seems totally self-aware and remorseful, but at the same time took care of the family.
Yeah. I think the whole not care thing is really not that he doesn't care. He does care about his business. He does care about his coworkers. I think it's more of a level of if you were in part of my family, then that's a different story. But he was his employee, and he's gonna, like he said, he does right by them, but it doesn't mean that you get to him on that level, And the only reason he really did Donnie for the last few months was because he was sick and because he got singled out by the FBI and that kind of thing. So I feel like that's the only reason that they did really bond a lot,
Right.
and maybe exponentially over time. But you never know. I mean, he doesn't have to feel a certain way just because of it. But it's awesome
true.
that he was real about it. I like that realism.
It felt very truthful tonight.
Yeah, it
Alina?
did. It did. And I'm glad that they came to kind of the understanding that he's not quite a sociopath, but pretty close to it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that explains a lot about his character. The way just he operates from, work to his employees, to his family, just to everything. It explains a lot.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you could trace that back to his actions when he traded on 9/11.
Right.
And some of these other issues that have come up about him and the sort of heartless way that he deals with it. It's not that he's heartless, it's that he can turn his emotions off on command and has become practiced at it. Here's what I want to ask you two, because I didn't really get the whole sisterly bonding thing going on between Lara and her sister. I mean, what did that mean to you? What did that show you? What did we learn from that tonight?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm like, go ahead, girl.
Go ahead, Alina.
I guess it was just showing that, she owes her sister something, or her sister feels like she owes her something.
That's interesting.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what I got from it.
I like seeing the sister out from behind the kitchen. Sorry.
Yeah. She was like, you made it, so you need to take me on a shopping spree. That's kind of just what I got from it. And then they ended up in prom dresses drunk at the end of the
Which is
night.
awesome. Those are the best nights
exactly.
ever. Let's be real about that.
Yeah.
But I think that you just sparked something in me. I think it's kind of a good wrap up to the fact that this is Lara's life and where she's gone from when they were girls, bad girls, really, stealing and getting drunk at that pub and playing with the boy, cool.
Right.
But obviously it's an example of where she's been, and maybe there's a huge disconnect, even though they worked together, they had a Michelin star at a restaurant together. doesn't mean they actually bonded in a while. And I feel like because they lost the restaurant, yes, because maybe everything went down with Bobby and the fact of the trading and then their brother dying, maybe that was like a reconnection to be like, listen, you made your choices. I'm still here. Let's, rebond again. But now you're gonna take me out. You know what I mean? Like, let's see what this is about.
Right. I think after the 2 episodes ago, where the revelation came out that Bobby was trading on 9/11, I think Lara became very isolated.
Yes.
And only had Bobby, who really didn't tell her about all of this, and so she's sort of floating out there on her own island, but her sister is still there. So I think that tonight, just listening to you two, talking now, it gave me the idea that I think this sort of reestablished their connection so that she has, family backing her up too, so that she's not totally alone in this struggle.
And I actually didn't think of this until now. When she turned over and saw them making out, I think that her family hasn't really accepted or liked Bobby to begin with, and then when they find out all of this stuff about him, and then seeing their relationship and how they were just like 2 almost high school kids, talking about prom and making out on the couch across from her, I think she respected that as the relationship a little more, which was cute. It was a cute moment.
Yeah, it was a cute moment. She liked it. I probably would have got up and gone to a bedroom and let them have
out of here.
Let them have the living room. You never know where it's gonna move.
Exactly.
And then you're just like, oh wait, I'm up.
Excuse me, not on top of me. Can you please move? Thank you very much. But cool. I thought it was cool. Great sisterly bonding. They got to go on a helicopter ride, which I love flying and being in airplanes and stuff, and that was really cool to see. And another little visual treat that we get from watching Billions is the sweet life. So
I love shopping on somebody else's card.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
a treat.
Lara hands over
opened for you.
She hands over the black card, and you can go have fun with her $150,000 credit limit.
Right.
But on the other side of the world, Team Rhodes, Chuck is sort of left by himself. So Lara's reconnecting to family, and Chuck is now on an island by himself and discovers Wendy, as you guys were talking about before, having this all-night session with Axe. I didn't see anything wrong with what Emily was doing. With what Wendy was doing, but Wendy doesn't quite tell Chuck where she is, who she's talking to, and so Chuck's real jealous. I mean, this is a sensitive spot for him. Did you feel for him at all while this was going on?
No.
You are
really.
so against him.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, because the fight, I feel, is still kind of, still escalated from last week's show. So I don't feel like it was resolved. They haven't talked about it, any of that. And so I think he's just kind of stewing in all of that. And she's just like, look, I gotta, do my job. Could she have been more clear? Yes, she could have, so that he wouldn't have been worried. But I think even if she would have told him I'm having an all-night session with Axe, he's still, like, the wheels in his head would still be churning. So it's not like, she didn't do anything wrong, but when he left to go to find her, I was, you're not gonna like what you're gonna see.
No.
Yeah.
But he really didn't see anything. They were on the balcony sort of having a laugh.
But still, because he's already been thinking the worst. Like, that's what you do when you think somebody's cheating. You think the absolute worst, and there's probably nothing going on, And sure enough, just even seeing them together, that's
fuel any fire.
Yeah, exactly.
But my problem is with that now Rhodes all of a sudden has 5 minutes and he's worried about his wife, and you're going stir crazy. I was thinking about all the scenes that happen in his night and he's still freaking out, and it's like, I really enjoyed that he had that conversation with the guy at the bar that, listen, this is not my life. I'm not ready for this kind of life, and I think I'm headed down that road. Very real, the truth that we usually like from Rhodes. However, you cannot pick and choose when you want to have the conversation or when you want your wife to be available to you. Like, you don't get to choose that. So just be calm, stay home, and wait for her and then talk about it. But I don't think that conversation's happening.
No, that's not happening now, and especially after Chuck took Wendy's psych notes on her session.
He just keeps digging in the hole.
That's just the worst.
Number one, Wait, I gotta save my prediction.
Save your prediction.
Because I was about to go into it, but he is continuing to betray her trust.
Yeah, in a big way.
And that's what I'm saying. You don't get the right to just try to worry about where she is one night. One night. What? Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for him at all, is the bottom line.
He reacts emotionally and takes himself to the sex club with the dominatrix who knows his wife.
Hilarious.
And trained his wife to be a dominatrix.
Yeah, exactly.
And she kicks him out. I love this. She's like, go get permission from Wendy.
I like that he
From
stopped
Mrs.
it too.
Mr. Martinez.
That's hilarious. I like that he stopped it. Like, I get that, and he doesn't want to fully commit. And is he trying to get revenge, or was he just trying to get satisfaction?
I think it was revenge, and clearly whenever he's stressed out, he goes to a sex club or, a dominatrix, whatever club.
But I just don't, let me annotate your note is, I would say it's not just regular stress, it's when he's stressed about his wife.
Right.
When he goes there. Keep going.
So I think that he was trying to get revenge, because clearly he didn't go all the way, or he didn't enjoy it. He was just trying to do it just to spite her. So I think that's where that all stemmed from. Yeah.
And it didn't go too far. You're right. He had an emotional reaction, stopped it, and then went home to his wife and promptly stole her notes and sent it to himself. I mean, he's so clever though. He sent it to himself, then deleted the sent message.
Oh, I was gonna say if he didn't, that was a dumb move. Because I was waiting for that.
He knows. He knows what he's doing.
Exactly. He knew exactly what to do. But I think this is going to, as I'm watching this episode, I'm thinking, okay, where is this show going now? Because the case is gone. We saw the scene with Brian and Kate and I think Tara.
Okay. No. Not Tara.
Anyway, they're all like, they're boxing up the...
Terry.
Yeah, that's it, Terry.
Yes.
Terry. They were boxing up the case, and so clearly the financial crimes aspect of the show, of Rhodes' office pursuing X, is over. So where were we going now?
Oh, we'll see.
And the notes, I think, give us the key
to the
piece of information that's coming. But let's talk about the Donnie grief before we get into our predictions.
Okay.
Donnie, to me, we dedicated a lot of time to him this season, but I didn't think that Axe ever had the emotional attachment to him that would lead him to cry, lead him to be upset that he's not there anymore. Do you really think his death had an effect on Axe to push him to this place where he's obviously submarining his own deals?
Go ahead.
I don't think so.
No.
Because I think he just did that just to see, like he said, he wanted to know if he was a sociopath. And I think that's kind of where that all stemmed from. Because he didn't cry, yet Wendy got emotional about Donnie being dead. And everyone else kind of seemed to get emotional about it. But the one person who, supposedly was helping him out and had his best interest didn't get emotional. It just felt guilty for the fact that he took probably, 3 months of his life away.
That's right.
Yeah.
He denied him Christmas.
Right. Thank God. Right.
Yeah.
Which I think for any of his employees or anybody in his life, he would have had that same guilt.
Right.
So to say that, just no matter what, he would feel it wasn't necessarily that it was Donnie. It was the fact that he thought that playing God was the wrong thing to do.
That's right.
Great. So I agree with Alina. I don't think that what was the actual question? That he was that wrong?
He's
that he
emotionally
didn't cry?
attached. Yeah. He's not crying.
I don't think that's a weird thing either. Wendy obviously had one-on-one sessions with Donnie. They became friends. She said she was so pissed that she missed the signs. I think that Axe, like we said, was responding to other things, other decisions he made. And he is so multi-level with his choices that sometimes they do affect one and the other, even if it's a totally separate concept or idea or whatever. So I think that's it, which makes a lot of sense. And I love, again, the writing in this show because that's so smart. And the way that Wendy meets that, I'm like, how does she understand what he's thinking, what's going on? And she even keeps guiding him, but she really lets him tell himself. Like, I love that. How many times she said, "Are you gonna say it?" And she's like, "Well, I'm not." And it's awesome. And then we get there as the audience, and we're like, "Oh, that makes sense for him and who he is."
And when you can clue the audience in to know what's coming before, I mean, that's just a sign of really good writing. You're right about that. And while you're mentioning, behind the camera people, I want to say the way the show is scored. The music, Eskimo does a great job. There is a sort of rhythmic thumping to this show that pulses the action forward, and it pulls me right into the episode. So I want to give a special shout out. I know we talk a lot about story here and acting and characters, but there are, the craft of this show is done by the costume and lighting and music people to really add a whole nother level to this show. So, let's move into our final segment. I'm itching to go with our predictions, so I definitely want to get them out there. And I'm going to go first.
I think you should, because that'll give us something.
AfterBuzz TV.
I got one now.
Okay, good, got it.
I know this is hard for you guys.
The final episode's next week, so that's kind of...
That's true.
That makes it easier.
My prediction is that what I was alluding to before, when Rhodes found the notes and the line sped across that Axe bribed police officials, I think that is the case for next season. I think that is what is going to drive the action, not only next episode, but into the next season of this show, because that was a big damaging piece, and Rhodes stole it from his wife. And I also think that is going to lead to a huge rift. I don't want to say divorce. I want to say a huge rift between Wendy and Chuck, because he continues to disrespect her. She has taken no equivalent action against him. It's all been him misbehaving, and I think she's going to have enough.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think absolutely that whole, whatever kind of case they can open on that is going to spawn a huge case against Axe. And it might not even just be that. It might be the fact that they know that payoff and bribery is involved in other situations. They might just sniff into those other cases. So you never know. I also think that I don't think divorce either. I think that Wendy and Chuck are just going to either have it out or keep not talking, but it's going to affect both their lives in one way. But to talk about that, I liked, just a side comment, the Wendy and Axe thing. I'd like to see if we see any of their history anymore revealed. And I felt like them to, especially for Wendy to be as honest, because you said it was nice that Axe was honest. Wendy was as honest, and I don't think she's revealed what she's been thinking in a few episodes now. So that was kind of cool, but let's see if that happens with her and Rhodes, because come on. I want that to happen.
Yeah.
Alina?
Okay, so I'm on board.
She's got one.
Yeah, and I got one. I mean, it's like one time I didn't have a prediction. So I actually think that Rhodes is going to obviously show the document to people. I think that Hal and Axe are going to find out about it, and they're going to use... I'm telling you, I'm sure they taped the whole bath time thing, like they said, and that's their contingency plan. Yeah. That, and probably there's more pictures of Rhodes going into a sex club.
So then Rhodes can't say anything.
Exactly.
Ooh, that's so good.
That's really good.
Bam.
Oh, wow. Drop the mic, Alina.
It's true.
That was really good. But,
Yes.
But I think you're right. And this was something we were talking about when he went to the sex club in Iowa, when they were investigating the dollar bill case. We said, this is going to get him in trouble. And this time, somebody was following him all night, including his stops at the sex club. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, Hall knows everything, and we got a little bit of a tease that next week, there's going to be a confrontation between Axe and Rhodes, which I think is true. I think they had one episode 6, and I think we are going to again come to a climax for this last episode. And just as a final thought, I like that this show is having the season finale be the finale of the action. I think a lot of shows nowadays, the second to last episode is the big one, and then the season
Cliffhanger.
finale is sort of the falling action from that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I really like that a lot. Any other final thoughts before we close it out?
As I'm thinking about it, I just think Wendy is gonna flip her what when she finds out that email got stolen, and we saw in the previews.
Well, her notes, right? Not an email. Yeah.
Right.
So those are confidential notes.
Right.
That's a big
highly, and that is like
that's
her
a huge
biggest thing as a therapist. That is like her number one.
Right.
And I just think that she's gonna flip about it, and she even says in the previews about something not being admissible because it was stolen. So who knows how that's gonna play out?
It was stolen and it's confidential.
Yes,
That's
and it's confidential.
Patient,
what were we
doctor.
gonna say?
I think that Axe is gonna think that she probably gave it to him, maybe,
Yes.
and that might cause a rift.
I thought of that when I was watching it. I'm like, he's gonna be pissed, but he'll
when
believe
she was
her.
writing it, I was like, "What is she doing?"
I
Like,
know. That's her note. That's what she
her
does.
notes. Yeah, but I kind of foresaw something happening with that.
Her husband knows her password.
Yeah.
And he can get in to see everything that she is writing.
Everything comes around. I love this show.
Everything comes around. Great writing, great episode tonight. That's it. That's all for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Billions. Be sure to like us on YouTube, subscribe to us there as well. Give us a review on iTunes and a star rating. That lets us know that you love us out there, and we'll keep on coming back for this season and beyond.
Yeah.
So until then, we will be back next week. We have been Alina Vision
You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Alina Vision.
and Andrea Fasano.
Hey guys, same with me on social media at Andy Fasano.
And I'm Frank Maiorana. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Frank M. One episode left.
So exciting.
This is exciting. It's been a great season. Come on back, finish it out strong with us. Until then, make it rain.
Make it rain.
You forgot.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.